Oh, shit. Sometimes I make myself really laugh with those pictures. I really love jam. The bread is secondary. Hi, I'm Elliot. And I mumble. I also have a very loud voice, but I don't use it loudly. Peach, orange, mango. Gangster. I love to talk about powerful, serious things lightly. And I've had a couple insights to share today, one of which is, both of which have to do with expanding the shared paradigm of, you can say unity consciousness, and then I would go further to say unifying consciousness, and then I'll continue by expounding unifying consciousness with all that is, and then I would contract that to understanding the oneness experience of our bodies and our consciousness. So good. I love jam. And the other share that I'm going to get to, I don't know if today look, because I'm like packing house. There's a lot of changes happening that look rapid on the outside, but they've only taken my whole life to create. And it has to do with, I think I labeled it something along the lines of basically how we're all plugged into technology. And we like to express that psychologically, because psychological is this like really safe word that make people sound smart, like they know what the fuck they're talking about, because it has to do with like our psyches and we are thinkers, we know, yeah, arg. But it's referred to in this really ephemeral, unrelated to anything physical way, so that you can have a psychological disorder, but it's just based on the perception of your circumstances. Well, that may be true, but not in the way that it's being expressed. It's more like something's wrong with you. It's your fault. There's nothing you can do about it because it's separate from you. It's how you think. And you are perfectly broken. So psychology is like the description of our psyche as opposed to an explanation for the experience of it. I can't help it. That's what I'm saying. Full. I also love beer. Like, not as much, but I do love beer. Wash it down a bit. because I don't know. I was gonna say something like, because I like to. It's. I just feel dirty good, but I don't know. Oh, I'm almost done. Okay. Right. So, the mainstream media likes to express, likes to just to express explanations of things, but as descriptions. And I want to clarify that distinction, not just for the sake of what I'm going to share today, but for the sake of all of your like perceptions as far as taking in information, especially information that you choose. Most of science, most of academia, most of education is the indoctrination of description as explanation. When this happens, this happens. That's a description. Why does that happen when this happens? Well, when you take one and add one to it, it's two. No, that's still a description. Furthermore, you're describing something that you've made up. So what's the explanation for it? Like, what are the pieces? It's like, well, atoms, protons, neutrons. No, okay, cool. Those are names for things that you see. And you're describing how they interact with things. But you're not explaining anything. And I'm going to leave that kind of concept at that because I'm not making a video explaining that. But I want to just draw your attention to the difference thereof. Because in your life and in this like burgeoning paradigm of a better world that we're creating together, you're going to come across lots of information and it's going to seem marvelous. It's going to seem new age because lots is happening in the world right now that can't be ignored any further. So the mainstream media and its agenda, which is to say its plan, which can't cloud reality that supersedes its own influence, is going to make its best attempts to stay in control and command by taking these like extraordinary occurrences. A good example, a simple example would be all of the earth changes that are occurring right now. And a dramatic example would be climate change. Right? An even more significantly dramatic example that's it's like beyond below the radar. It's like they made the radar to convince people that anything that shows up on the radar is something that fly beneath the radar or something, so that you're not looking beyond the radar, is astronomy. And then they're going to use descriptions of these occurrences to warrant actions for or against them as it suits their control structures. So just be wary of when something sounds like a description versus an explanation for. And while I've given a good kind of like your connection is unstable, so not yours, mine. It's not funny. See what I did there? It's our connection. So my connection is your connection. But in duality, it's one-sided, so it's not a connection at all. The connection. And because it's not my connection, but our connection, we can like tandem our efforts. And with me, eyes open and closed, but relax your eyes and take 3 super delicious breaths. Well, that was about 3. Now we're going to take only 1 more together, as if we are being breathed. And then as we continue, let's imagine that we don't even have to think about it. We don't have to do it on purpose, but we can imagine that we can set that kind of tandem breathing, each other and being breathed in its place, so that it's something that can't be distracted from. And so it's just there and it's always happening. Awesome. Thank you for your help and everything. I was kissing on my baby. It's the last song I heard. Explanations are open-ended. When someone explains something, it sounds like a journey. It sounds like the continuation and furthering of experiment, where observations are continuously being made to further and deepen said concept that's being explained. Explanations aren't law, and descriptions, when they're attempting to sound like anything other than descriptions, maintain the illusion of their permanence. And then lastly, and now we're going to get into the body and the pain, is explanation. It's kind of an equivalent, and explanations seek to prove nothing. If you can question an explanation and the response to your question is only That's a good question. And I wonder, as opposed to being denied using a description as the vehicle for your denial. And you're like, okay, cool. You're not explaining shit. You don't know. And if I don't know is off limits, then it's a description. If I don't know is like a high five, it's an explanation. It's just our best efforts. And in the other post that I'm looking forward to, I am willingly and boldly sharing with this, our small community, the truth of the mechanisms under which we are physically addicted to the screens, the touch screens, the TVs, the computers, the description being like, oh, we're this, we're that. It's like it's because you're not in control. You've got attention deficit, or you're bored, or you're looking for happiness, or you're this, or you're that, and or your emails and your Facebooks and your messages, when really we are electromagnetic in composition. And so, without even getting too esoteric, without getting esoteric at all, even just working within the physics of the manipulative paradigm, can still be proven. It's just the way that they keep us from sharing this awareness is by disconnecting it from different disciplines, i.e. physics and biology, which is what I'm going to talk to in both of these shares. In that your eyes, your body, anything that has a current running through it is creating an electrical field. All fields are electromagnetic in nature, and all fields and anything magnetic in nature is polar. There's dipole. We call it north and south, but it's really positive or negative, and even that is just an entry point and an exit point. So, for instance, if you have a magnet, a north pole and a south pole, one pole is where the current is exiting, and then circulating around it throughout its field, and then entering through the other pole. Your eyes are like this, so they've got their polar, so that means that if they're polar, they're like a battery is polar. The current is running in a direction, and if it's not circular, then it is, but the circle is much broader than your own field. So your eyes can be magnetized with that via different currents, different fields, so that the energy running through them isn't recirculating through your own system, but it's being diverted to another system. In like the current field system of our planet, it goes like batteries go from the negative pole to the positive pole. The inside of your body is positively charged. Your touch screen is negatively charged. Your energy, which like there's a few orifices are gateways for the magnetic charge of your inner body to interact with the external world. So of your skin is negatively charged, but the inner surface of your skin is positively charged. Your eyes, uh, via their holes, I'll just keep it that simple, uh, allow exchange of energy uh, in positive, negative, in a different way than your skin protects thereof. So, and why I especially thought of this is because I left that house today running some errands, and it makes me laugh so hard. Walking, like looking at people, and there's like, oh, there's like a mass of people, all looking down at their phones, and going back to like the description, right? It's like we're just an isolated people. We're just so addicted because well, yeah, but like unless you do something about it, consciousness, your eyes literally get pulled towards it's like polar complement, right? There's an entry and an exit. Well, your eyes have been hijacked to become exit points, and so they're exiting towards whatever the most potent entry point is in your system, which is usually your phone. Never mind just the screen, but also the mechanisms within it. It is a circuit with a battery that is running negative to positive. It's like, does that sound like it could be the whole post for the other video? No, it's just a teaser because there's more. We're connecting it to what I want to talk to you about today, or at least right now, includes that understanding of the masculine and feminine is another way of looking at it. Kind of poles of systems of energy. System is anything that can be closed in relation to another system that's similar to it, and can be closed as well. So humanity in and of itself is a system. Each of us as individuals can be a system. In a codependent relationship, you have two people that are one system in conflict, right? Because you have two systems that could be closed, but they're unconsciously open. So there's an uneven exchange of energy because the energy is being exchanged unconsciously. Well, how's that, Elliot? Well, thanks for asking, Elliot. If it's unconscious, what's acting consciously? Well, if like the whole system, the closed system of yourself, your sovereignty, is not conscious of itself as a whole system, then like the smaller systems have to take up the weight of that responsibility. And what that looks like is essentially your organs, right? Your brain, your heart, super cute. Your liver, your kidneys, your skin, right? Your skin is the largest organ. And to have your whole body be a closed system, your organs have to be in harmony with each other. If they're not, then that is the weak point of your field. That is where an external and any other external system, open or closed, can either invest or drain energy. And I'm going to use energy a lot in this conversation. I really mean it in the most physical sense, like electricity. But I also mean it in the more subtle senses, which is no less physical, but by deception, very much denied, because then we would close ourselves off and being manipulated by others. And if we use energy, can you imagine that we, being any human or any body, can develop a manner with which energy from another system could be used for their own benefit? Right? If you're plugged in, you're plugged into something. And whether that something is another human body, or something more subtle than that, yeah, it's going somewhere. It's useful to imagine reasonably. Even if you can't explain it, what you are explaining is your reason. And that is better than any description. Because the other lie of descriptions is we should be able to share all descriptions. I see this. If you don't see this, but I can get somebody else that agrees that they see what I see, then there's something wrong with you. You couldn't possibly be right. Medical history, our family's histories, are rife with examples of this. Anybody that's insane, anybody that hallucinates, sees things that aren't there, hears things, worse than that, even, almost, actually, it's all awful. But when somebody comes along and has an extraordinary experience, whatever it is, it's just more than ordinary. And then they go along and they go to like supposedly their trusted friends and family, just they're like contemporaries, and then they tell them what happened, and they're like, and the response they get is, "You're crazy." Like, you're seeing things. No, I know I'm seeing things. I'm telling you what I see. What? Why would I lie? Oh, you're not lying. Right? It's just your senses are wrong, because it's not what we're all seeing. But you're not there. How could you see if you're not there? Oh, well, that makes sense if you're in Nevada and I'm in another desert. But when there is mental, when there is emotional, it's easy to subjugate another person's perceptions as not possible if it makes one so uncomfortable, or it threatens the stability of an enslaving infrastructure, which is chiefly the culprit, at least trickled down, of most of our most destructive and tragically unfortunate experiences as a collective, as a good people, as a humanity, and how we've suffered in the denial of each of our own truth. So there's that. And that's a little bit of touch on the energy and electricity. One of the descriptive truisms is like, if you're, and which is more like new agey, if you've got a body, if you've got a pain, it's linked to some kind of suppressed emotion. I'm not denying that. That's like if your observation is pain, and that pain is a connection to something too, it has an emotional anchor, or at least an emotional appendage. That's like going from step 1 to like step 3, 5, or 7 you're skipping steps. And thusly, it can be useful, but it's not as useful as it could be if you're able to move rationally from one observation to another by virtue of your own explanation. And the next step need only be all pain is bringing your awareness to somewhere where there wasn't awareness. It can be that simple. I'm going to use the example of fibromyalgia and sciatica, because being in the industry, like the wellness industry, in a very physical way, as a yoga therapist, if in fact more than bullshit certification, and fitness, like as a fitness trainer and blah blah blah. I have a lot of experience with helping people with these types of painful afflictions, and why they're perfect examples for how we can explore this concept is they're described even commonly as nervous pains, right? Pains that are derived from the nerves of the body, and it can be commonly accepted that our nerves are where and how our electrical impulses travel through our body. Also, what makes them perfect for our discussion is fibromyalgia and sciatica. Like actually most of medical literature, anything that you have to go to university for and got a right answer is so bullshit. Maybe not even, you don't have to go as far as university. It's like, you just have to question it before then. You got it wrong, and you were wrong. They don't know where it comes from. They don't know why you get it. You know, it's like pinched nerves. What's a pinched nerve? Pinched, we know what pinched things are. Nerves, like most people don't know what nerves are, but they imagine them. And if you combine them, it's like, yeah, doesn't it feel like our nerves been pinched? Yeah, it kind of feels like pinched. Yeah, you're pinching your nerves. It's just pinched. No, pinched nerves is not a thing. It's not a thing. Nerves can't be pinched. Period. If you're feeling pain, your nerves are flowing. That's what they do. They deliver sensation. If you got pinched nerve, you ain't feeling shit. Okay? It doesn't hurt acutely. It doesn't make sense. But making sense of pain is a burden. In a culture that thrives on people being in it. So when one is feeling sciatic pain, your sciatic nerve runs from about somewhere right there in like glute med, underneath the glute max. It's like the biggest. It's one of the. It's all one nerve, anyways, but it's massive, and it travels pretty much all down back here. Fibromyalgia is a painful condition that can manifest practically anywhere in the body, and it expresses as similarly as sciatica as just pain, electric feeling pain, and these can be very painful So, as an experiment, how aware are you right now of the sensations occurring in between the front of your shoulder blade and the back of your chest? Probably not at all. Now, I am very physical, and I teach physical. Like I'm not just my nervous system as a human being, as a preemie, even, uh, and then continuously, my proprioception is fucking ridiculous. It's always been my foundation, my physical connection to the world, and still there are places in my body that it's like really hard to bring a depth of sensation to. Like for me, what I'm kind of learning and growing awareness into is my neck. Right? Like I'm super familiar with my hands, my arms, not even my legs, not as much as like I thought. Right? When not in sensation, I'm not in pain, but because we're conditioned away from it by it through ignorance and then describing away and then medicating away from solutions, we are a people grossly disconnected from our bodies, so much so that they are enslaved to a meaningless existence. If you go through your life ignoring what people hear, what people say, ignoring noise, uh, you will lose your hearing because it happens before you notice it happening. And in a closed system, the law of thermodynamics, which is fucking a description of conservation of energy, right? You're not uh, like if you're not using it, that energy is going to go within the system to a better place. And when your uh, capacity for hearing isn't a closed system within itself, and then an aspect of part of the whole system, then uh, you cannot hear, you cannot listen and retain your hearing. But when you're not listening, like every day you go to work, you get in your car or you ride the bus, you go and you sit for 8 to 12 hours a day, all day, and then you travel back home to go and sit uh, and then do something else that's ignoring your body, and then you continuously ignore your body. It's not that your body is fucking attention needy; it's love needy. And that, like, when you pick up something or put down something, when you just move through your whole life, move through your whole life ignoring parts of your body. Like when you lift something, how acutely aware are you of your ears and their action in the lifting? You're not. No, you're not. Because I just made that up as like a completely, as the most like removed identification. I don't even know how aware I am of my ears. But you know what? I'm pretty aware of my ears. One thing. With practice, I teach this, and so I practice it not because I teach it, but like, fuck, I'm going to practice smart things that I learned, and I can only teach the smart things that I learned. And we can go through life of your body, and its attempts to be harmonious uh, being ignored, then we come back to that truism of like, if you're experiencing pain, your body is trying to tell you something. Yeah, it's trying to tell you fucking ignoring your life. So as an emotional root, that makes sense. It makes sense in one way. One way that makes sense is that uh, anything that has a current has a frequency. It's just uh, and it can be a volatile frequency, which is why emotions that are less great feeling are condoned as uh, negative emotions. First of all, negative. I'm a big fan of negative. Negative is negative. I am a negative force. The feminine is a negative force. Forces that, and I'm saying that generally because nothing is arbitrarily. It's like the surface of my skin is negative. The inside of my skin is positive, positive. It moves towards negative. It uh, repels. It pushes away. They're both choices. And in relationship, if everything's polar, if anything is sequestered to uh, just to only be kind of used and so abused by access or recognition of just one of its poles, then that will, by necessity of one's relationship to the only closed system, the universe, inclusively, then the system, no matter how many open and closed ones it has to get through, like reach through to get to you, is going to um, negotiate with you for better or worse to try and bring you back on track, on course, in harmony with the rest of uh, the polar flows of energy. So let's make the connection between random body pain and your emotions, and why it is critical that you can understand and so explain to yourself. Explanations, explanations are useful. Descriptions are mostly not useful. They can be useful. They're usually descriptions are usually useful in finding things, and they're usually useless in using things. Mars is red. Cool. I could find Mars within all the planets, but that you like, I can't do anything with that information. Why is Mars red? Oh well, it's like the supposed iron content. Cool. Like that explains a red color in geology, but it doesn't actually explain why Mars is red, and it doesn't explain how you know Mars is red because of that. Oh fuck me! Like you just found a hole in astronomy. Oh, because look, we've been there. We've got cameras and things like that. It's like, okay, but you're telling me you've been there and you've been cameras and everything like that. I also know you lie. I also know you lie in this way. So you're just describing how you know, but it's not an explanation. When you have a random body pain, you better believe it's occurring in a part of your body that you've been ignoring. Now, your body doesn't hate you. No matter how much you might hate you. And I don't mean that facetiously. In fact, if you've not hated yourself at some point, I don't believe you. I reckon actually you've just ignored yourself. I'm not saying you have to self-hate still, but I'm appreciating that is a process that we all have to go through. I believe in a better world, one still goes through that process, and the hate is just still couched in love and support, and the hate is less um, emotionally destructive. It's less violent, and I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I don't want violence. What I can't provide is cruelty. So you've got low back pain. That's a super common one, right? If you've got low back pain, it's not because of your low back. If something where you're in pain, it's not because of that place. That place is experiencing pain because it's not being supported. Something is happening to it or not happening for it, and as such, is experiencing pain. Physically, if you've got low back pain, look above it and look below it. It can be that simple. If you've got low back pain, look to your shoulders, look to your hips, look to your knees, look to your neck. The uh, the way the body is, the way the energetic body is expresses itself in like cosmic gorgeousness is uh, the further something is, the more impact it has, the least amount of energy given up. So using that as an example, if you've got low back pain, very commonly, I'm actually just getting this intuitively now, not just even within myself, but within the collective, possibly within someone that is going to watch this, or someone that is watching this, and someone that's like they loved, or it's just you're cool and you're like, that's so cool, I relate to that. I'm like, right? If you got low back pain, let's go above the neck to your head. Like, how aware are you of the sensations occurring in your skull? Like, find the places right now where you usually, if you have headaches, where you would get a headache, and if and I'm with blessedness, I'm you're not having a headache right now. Try and find sensation where there would be headache. I want to reckon it's really hard. I reckon that because of how much work it's taken for me to discover the inner sensations of my body. Like, if I take your nose to your ear and make a triangle with them where they meet in the middle of your head, try and feel that. How nebulous it is. Because we don't put our awareness there. How do you support the inside of your head? Well, by not ignoring it. And why I use this as a great example we live in a very heady world where all of us, our eyes are up here, our brain is up here. So we think we live up here. But all that thinking, all that experiencing from the head, it stops right here. Stops at the surface. Even when we get our headaches, it's this separate thing that's occurring to something not us. Right? Like we are all lived up here. And we get this pain deep inside our heads. And it's this other. It's like, I get headaches. I get migraines. Like, the headache is ordinarily doing its thing elsewhere, and then it finds you, it's like, yeah, fuck that person up in the regs. and then does it. When instead, it's you. Bringing an awareness to somewhere there's not support. And while I don't want to use this as a quite example, but we're rolling. Why just that one's a kind of a subtle one is that when you're getting headaches, it could be your eyes. Right? What's between, like, if you're getting a headache, it's not the middle of your head that is causing the pain. It's elsewhere that's not supporting it. Well, what's not supporting the middle of your head? Your eyes, your ears, your neck, your relationship to the above. Let's go back to the low back, hips, knees, feet. The feet. Our feet are divine. It's our relationship to the ground. It's our negative aspect because the surface of our skin that becomes most positively oriented because the surface of the earth is negative. We are electrically organized similarly by like anatomy as the earth. Gravity, for instance, is not a mystery. It's just if you try and explain it and you make sense, you get laughed at by academia. Because it's like, oh, shame. You're explaining something that means I'm wrong and I can't accept that. Mirror magnets, flows, entry points, exit points, towards state of inertia. There's like the middle of a magnet, there's a place where they don't quite meet because they're not meeting is a counter space of balance. And then the outside of this balance is the discharge of electromagnetism that we experience as force. We live in a world that's reversed and inversed. We think that the discharge of energy is energy creation, when really it's the release of it's like the energy is not being created; it's being released. When the heat, cold, is the expression of the highest forms of energy, of that like inertial state. And heat is a loss of that equilibrium. It's the discharge of imbalance. So both the surface of the Earth is uh, positive, positive, and the surface is negative. The surface of our skin is negative. Go within that, it's positive. But don't like negative repel. Don't positive repel. Well, yeah. But then below the surface of the Earth, there's much more space. It's positive than the surface, than the top of the surface. Same thing with our bodies. So even though the surfaces are negative, what's attracting each other is our inner surface is magnetized, is drawn not just towards the greater positive, not just to the surface of the Earth. Let me say it again so that it's not too wordy and confusing. The surface of our skin, negatively charged, is in contact with the surface of the Earth that is also negatively charged. Why they don't repel is that the insides of our bodies are able to override, because it is a more potent force by virtue of its expression than the outside of our bodies. So the inside of our bodies are reaching towards the strongest negative force for balance, and that's the surface of the planet. Why the planet doesn't push us away is because of that relationship, but also the positive force that's underneath the surface is tied on to our skin, but it's much greater. Why doesn't it just like why doesn't it just like pull us all the way down? Or why, by virtue of the positive relationship, the positive energies being like so strong, why isn't it actually just overriding all the negative and pushing it away? So we'll all just like push off into the stratosphere, into the next like sphere of energetic force. Because below the positive force in the planet, there's another shell of negative force, and that's what's holding us to the planet. One moment, please. Obnoxious. I live in Ontario. I don't know if it's like Canada wide, but well, apparently people are not allowed to like telemarketers are not allowed to call your phones. People are not allowed to go door to door, except of course if you're a political party, I guess. I just get incensed at infringements of my privacy. So that understanding, that explanation of kind of like the relationships between forces, all of your organs, if they don't have their own field, they are repelling and attracting each other in that same way. People between ourselves and each other are negotiating those same field interactions. And when we're not coherent, when there's not one expression, then you can like somebody sometimes and they rub you the wrong way another time. And I'm going to tie back into the pain body and then move on to like the rest of my day. Might not have that much to do with what we were just explaining, but I thought that was interesting. Did you? Great. We'll move on. Let's stick with the low back pain, but remember sciatica, remember fibromyalgia. And also, what I'm explaining isn't the whole picture. There's more that I know, and there's more that can be understood that isn't in the realms of like, I don't know yet. But I'm not talking about everything. And if you've got good questions or a very real concern, send me an email. You've got a body pain. It's bringing you awareness to a part of your body you're not paying attention to. Your body is at once the first line of experience with the external world and also the last line of experience with the external world. So in turn, it can be a chronic response of something that's happening to you from the outside. That's what that's the old paradigm. It's not wrong, but it's isolated in its appreciation. If you've got low back pain or any other body pain, and you feel beholden to it, it's happening to you. You're able to even ignore it long enough for it to be acute. That's what it kind of ties in. Each of your organs has like an energetic expression, frequency, or whatever, that can match what you're in healing or whatever your whole body would experience as an expression of anger, of grief, of terror, right? If you imagine that wave, certain thoughts, they're all different expressions. And so if you feel something common and it puts a lot of strain, it's like anger is associated with the liver. This is because when your body, when your sovereignty at best experiences the expression of anger, it resonates with the liver's like kind of optimal frequency range. And when it is abused, the liver energy is drained or suffused to excess. All parts of your body have an opportunity to express this way, which is why you can look and read and derive meaning where you need to be like, I'm getting a lot of shoulder pain. What does shoulder pain mean? When you look it up, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's right. But if you can make a connection between that, whatever somebody says, and your pain, then you are not ignoring some pain that you are discovering. And if you just bring the letter of awareness to that, it's not that but just awareness heals it, but just awareness makes you do something about it. I hardly ever experience body pain anymore. I mean, I'm only 34, and I'm lived a lot of a very like physical world as far as my choices. But I know other people in their 30s that excuse their body pains for being in their 30s. Because I'm sorry if it wasn't completely obvious. Like, I'm only like, I wouldn't expect to be in any kind of regular body pain. But I have experienced that in my life: shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain. But the reason that I don't, and the reason that you don't need to, is when you experience the truth of emotional pain, mental pain, then you stop separating yourself from your body and your heart and your mind. Pain becomes one thing. And when pain can become one thing, you can actually create distinctions within it. And that's sovereignty. When you become coherent in yourself as a unity, the parts of you don't disappear. They become enabled. Pain stops being this all uncomfortable thing to being a difference between uncomfortable and distressed, between tired and fatigued, from being an acute pain from an accidental collision to and recognizing the collected pain of repeated, ignored, gentle collisions that are physically adding up from the emotional pain of uh, what you feel about, and the mental pain of that conflicting thoughts. And instead of that all being really like, oh, it's actually just clear. There's always just a single line of communication because you don't have to manage all of these different parts as separate. There's no manager because all of you loves all of you and has learned to work with all of you. So there's only ever the best inner voice communicating the most aware, present, loving need to the light of your awareness. Because in the dark of your awareness, you're still aware. So maybe for the rest of the day, once or twice or a few times more, find a part of your body that you're completely numb to. Great examples are feet and necks. Because our feet are socked and shoed all the time. Well, not maybe not yours, but even for us, the not. I want to be barefoot all the fucking time, and I still have to wear shoes most of the time when I go out. Most of the time when I go out, I take them off at some point. at some point where it's like not maybe normal, like fuck your normal. Uh, and like in the practice of reflexology, your feet are fucking access points to the rest of your body. They're little microcosms for all of you. And your neck, because it's so ignored. Your neck is so sensitive. The skin there. What's the look? This is your throat chakra. The back of your neck. Like your atlas bone and your axis bone. I don't need to go further. Don't those just sound important? And it will live a whole day in here, ignoring here, and complaining about here, and longing from here. So pick a place and try to live in it for the rest of the day. And if you pick your heart, you couldn't go wrong if you just do that for the rest of your life. It's just hard, even if you just do your heart, but still ignore the rest of it. I'm going to call it at that. I love you. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your body. That's everybody. Okay. Till again. Awesome boy. I know. One more. I love you.